and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Karoline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this, that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians. All of these lies that were never true.
Karoline Leavitt and Kaitlan Collins are clashing once again, and this time, tensions reached a boiling point. Leavitt delivered one of the most pointed and forceful rebuttals we've seen during a White House press briefing. Collins, known for her tough questioning and critical stance on the Trump administration, came ready to challenge, but Leavitt wasn't having it. Calm, sharp, and unyielding, she countered every move with precision. And the best part? I've got all the highlights ready for you. Get ready, this one's intense.
Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Kaitlan Collins opened by casting doubt on Tulsi Gabbard's motives for revealing explosive evidence against none other than Barack Obama. If you're not catching the strategy, let me break it down. Obama's under pressure, and Kaitlan's working overtime to contain the fallout. Her move? Discredit Tulsi and deflect the spotlight. But Gabbard was ready. She saw it coming and responded with a bold counter that completely flipped the narrative. She didn't just defend herself, she dismantled the storyline and took aim at its source. Pure fire.
Well, first I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
Kaitlan walked into the clash with a kitchen knife, while Tulsi Gabbard came wielding a double-edged sword, slicing right through Kaitlan's carefully crafted media persona. The real kicker? Kaitlan confused the Senate Intelligence Committee with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, two completely separate entities with distinct responsibilities. A rookie mistake, and one that played out in front of millions. Getting schooled by Tulsi on national television wasn't just awkward, it was career-level cringe. You could practically see the egg on her face as she scrambled to recover. And Tulsi? She wasn't done. She passed Kaitlan off to Karoline Leavitt for round 2, and let's just say, it only got hotter from there. You won't want to miss this.
The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Karoline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this, that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians. All of these lies that were never true.
Another ruthless takedown from the queen of clapbacks, Karoline Leavitt, just lit up the room. This time, her target was Kaitlan Collins, who attempted to twist Marco Rubio's words into something they were never meant to be. Collins portrayed Rubio as a reformed anti-Trumper turned MAGA loyalist, supposedly confirming Russian efforts to destabilize the country. But here's the catch, Rubio never claimed there was collusion between Russia and Trump. That narrative was crafted behind closed doors by the Democratic machine and pushed by their media allies. Leavitt wasn't having it. Armed with facts, receipts, and razor-sharp clarity, she tore through the spin in real time, exposing the distortion for what it was. Bold, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore, Karoline isn't just reacting, she's setting the pace, flipping the narrative, and landing blows that stick. And from the look of things, she's only getting started.
And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign.
Now that was fearless. Karoline Leavitt more than earned her flowers after torching nearly every media outlet in that press briefing room, especially the ones that once treated the Steele dossier like gospel. No fact-checking, no skepticism, just raw, partisan hysteria. I still remember the media frenzy when that dossier dropped. Every political panel, every late-night monologue clung to it like it was the script for the next big political thriller. It became their golden goose, fueling endless Trump-Russia conspiracy narratives. But then the truth came out. The dossier was little more than unverified hearsay and political fiction. And the media? Caught red-handed. Karoline didn't let them off easy. She didn't just call them out, she put their credibility on trial, in front of the nation. And she made sure the shame stuck.
As for your second question, Kaitlan, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working.
Another scorcher from Karoline Leavitt, who's quickly cementing her legacy as one of the boldest, sharpest press secretaries to ever take the White House podium. This time, it was CNN's Kaitlan Collins trying to bait her, suggesting Tulsi Gabbard only dropped explosive evidence against Barack Obama to cozy back up to President Trump. But Karoline wasn't having it. She shut it down instantly, making it crystal clear, Tulsi never said it, never implied it, never even hinted at such a motive. That narrative? Pure left-wing fiction, Leavitt said, a manufactured drama designed to stir division within Trump's camp. As Karoline calmly dismantled the false storyline, fact by fact, you could see Kaitlan start to unravel. The angle collapsed in real time. Cameras were rolling. The room went silent. One of the most jaw-tightening, high-stakes moments you'll witness from that podium. Watch this.
I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to. And that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
Karoline Leavitt drove the final nail in and buried Kaitlan Collins right there in the press briefing room. It was surgical. No spin, no escape, just a clean takedown that laid everything bare. Karoline peeled back the curtain on what's been obvious for years, the left's relentless obsession with taking down Trump, even if it means fabricating lies, slicing up video clips, and bending reality to fit their narrative. The moment in question? Kaitlan referenced a heavily edited 18-second clip of Tulsi Gabbard testifying on U.S. dealings with Iran. A journalist dangled the clip in front of Trump, clearly fishing for outrage. But Trump calmly pointed out the obvious, it didn't reflect what Gabbard actually said. No drama, no scandal. Still, the media kicked into overdrive, spinning it into a circus act about Trump turning on Gabbard. Total fiction. And Karoline? She didn't just correct the record, she exposed the stunt for what it was. Calm, cutting, and devastating. As Kaitlan scrambled to recover, the room watched in silence while the spin unraveled in real time. Cold, calculated, unforgettable.
The documents revealed that the Obama administration did not publish the December 2016 presidential daily briefing that demonstrated that Russia did not steal the election. Trump was receiving these briefings at the time because he was president-elect. Are you of the view that that information was kept out of the briefing because then President-elect Donald Trump would have seen it?
I don't have any documents that speak to exactly what the new guidance was that was given as the reason for pulling that document, which, by the way, still has never been published until we released it last week, Friday. One could assume that they didn't want President Trump to see a document that came from the intelligence community that would contradict the Russia hoax narrative that began through the Hillary Clinton campaign with the Steele dossier.
Democrats love to posture as the moral compass of the nation, but let's be honest, it's all smoke and mirrors. They accuse Trump of playing dirty, yet their own tactics make his look tame by comparison. Here's the truth, they knew the Russian collusion narrative was a hoax. They had the briefings, the intel, the hard evidence. And still, Barack Obama and Joe Biden chose silence. Instead of setting the record straight, they leaned into the lie, amplifying the Steele dossier as if it were gospel, all to smear Trump and mislead the public. But now, the mask is slipping. What we're witnessing isn't a party defending democracy, it's a party exposed as the architect of a carefully staged illusion. The same leaders who preach truth and transparency were the ones selling a political fantasy. Karoline Leavitt is absolutely right to call them out. The American people don't need more theatrics, they deserve the truth. And now, at long last, the curtain is coming down on the left's longest-running performance.
Do you or the White House believe that the Supreme Court's immunity decision protects Obama from prosecution?
And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this. And I would just add, based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing that they are lies.
I firmly believe that everyone involved in dragging this country into the abyss of the Russian collusion hoax must be held accountable. How that accountability unfolds, whether through the courts, the ballot box, or another path, is a discussion for another time. But one thing is clear, the damage was real, and the deception was deliberate. Is Barack Obama himself prosecutable? That's a question for the legal system, and maybe even the Supreme Court. But what's beyond dispute is that his inner circle, many of whom Karoline Leavitt bravely named, were key architects of this political theater. They knowingly spread falsehoods, eroded public trust, and weaponized federal power against a sitting president. That kind of abuse cannot be brushed aside. The American people deserve justice. The days of political elites skating by without consequence must end. This wasn't business as usual, it was calculated sabotage, cloaked in suits and shielded by power.
Flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party, who went on television and told the American people Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do, he said, "I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now." And not enough people in this room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, "What are you talking about? What evidence do you have?"
Legacy media didn't just fail to question the narrative, they were the narrative. Aligned with the Democrats, they weren't reporting the story, they were advancing the mission: stop Donald Trump from ever returning to power. Objectivity was tossed aside. Integrity left behind. They didn't care how flimsy the so-called evidence was. As long as it smeared Trump, it was front-page news. No scrutiny, no verified sources. Journalism gave way to clickbait. Reporting turned into pure political theater. They didn't just echo the lie, they broadcast it, amplified it, and sold it to the public like gospel truth. And when the truth finally emerged? No apologies, no retractions, just silence and a quiet pivot to the next manufactured scandal, hoping we'd forget. But we haven't forgotten, because the consequences are still here: division, distrust, and the corrosion of democracy. These weren't journalists acting as watchdogs, they were partisan operatives with press credentials, unleashed with one goal in mind. Karoline Leavitt exposed that web of collusion between media and party operatives, unmasking a calculated assault on truth itself. Now the lies are laid bare, and the next step is clear: accountability. The era of unchecked power and media-driven deception has to end, starting now. And that wraps up today's video. If you found this eye-opening, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.